For 12 long years, Elizabeth Bennet had been convinced she was worthless. Her husband had drilled it into her. She was broken, she was a failure, she was nothing. She had believed him. She had lived in fear. She had survived on hope so thin it barely qualified as existence. And then, one freezing November night, after she had finally run, lost everything, and had nowhere left to go, a widowed father with 5 grieving children found her sitting alone on a bench and, without even realizing it, changed the entire direction of her life. Henry Walker gripped the steering wheel until his knuckles went white. The accounting firm kept him later than planned. Again, the reports had to be submitted before the partner meeting tomorrow, and staying behind meant he would be late picking up his 5 children. 5 8-year-olds, quintuplets. A miracle and a storm rolled into one. They were with Mrs. Green next door, sweet, elderly Mrs. Green who had the patience of a saint. But he could hear the exhaustion in her voice when he'd called to say he would be late. He couldn't keep leaning on her. He couldn't keep running like this. The streets were nearly empty as he turned onto Oakwood Street, headlights stretching across cold pavement. That's when he saw her. A woman sat on the bench near the bus stop, hunched forward, arms wrapped around herself, shivering violently. Her blonde hair glowed faintly under the orange streetlight, straight strands sticking to her cheeks. She had no coat, no bag, just a thin, worn dress and bare hands turning red from the cold. Henry's foot hit the brake before his mind caught up. He pulled over, engine humming in the quiet. He stepped out slowly, keeping his distance. "Miss, are you okay?" The woman's head snapped up, hazel eyes wide, terrified like a cornered animal. The kind of fear that didn't come from being cold, the kind that came from years of survival. He raised both hands slightly so she wouldn't feel threatened. "I'm not going to hurt you. You're freezing. You look like you've been out here a long time." Up close, he saw the truth. She was in her early 30s, hair straight with a fringe partly hiding her face, cheeks pale, lips trembling. When she moved her hand, he caught sight of bruises, dark fading marks around her wrist. She whispered, "I'm fine." "Why not?" he answered gently. "When's the last time you ate?" She didn't reply. Her gaze stayed on the ground. Henry sighed softly, heart tightened. "Oh, look, I'm headed to a diner 2 blocks away. Please let me buy you a meal." "You don't owe me anything. I don't have money to pay you back. I'm not asking you to." She looked at him properly then, this tired man with soft brown eyes and lines etched from stress and heartbreak, and something inside her flickered. Something tiny, something called hope. "Why?" she whispered. Henry let out a slow breath. "Because someone helped me once when I needed it. Because you look like you need it now. And because if someone I loved was sitting out here alone, I'd hope a stranger would stop." She stood slowly, legs stiff, swaying as she rose. When she lost her balance, Henry instinctively stepped closer to steady her, but stopped when she flinched. "Sorry," he said quietly. "I've got 5 kids at home. I'm used to catching people before they fall." "A 5?" she repeated in disbelief. "A quintuplets." His small, tired smile was genuine. A beautiful chaos. They reached his car and she hesitated before the door. "I promise I'm not a serial killer," Henry said with an awkward, exhausted smile. "You don't have to get in. I can give you money if you want. She didn't wait. She opened the passenger door and sat down. Because what did she have to lose? She had already lost everything. The diner was nearly empty, fluorescent lights humming, a waitress rubbing her eyes, an older couple sipping coffee in silence. Henry ordered a burger and coffee for himself, then looked at her. "Get whatever you want." She ordered soup and bread. Anything heavier would have made her sick. He wrapped his hands around his mug. "I'm Henry Walker." She hesitated, then said, "Elizabeth." She didn't offer her last name. She didn't want to carry it anymore. "You from around here?" Henry asked gently. "No, I just arrived today." That was true enough. She had taken a bus as far as Dr. Lawson's envelope of money would carry her. She ended up in this small town with nothing familiar, then had her bag stolen hours later. Only her mother's locket remained in her pocket, the last piece of her old life she still held on to. "Do you have somewhere to stay?" Her silence was answer enough. Henry studied her, reading fear, exhaustion, and something else, the instinctive flinch of someone who'd learned to survive unpredictability. He should offer motel money, he knew that, but instead he heard himself say, "I have a guest room." Elizabeth stared at him like he'd spoken another language. "What? I'm serious," Henry insisted, though even he wasn't sure what had possessed him. "It's small. and messy and loud, but it's warm and it's safe. You don't even know me, insisted, though even know me. No, he agreed quietly. But I know what it's like to feel like you're drowning, and I know what it means when someone throws you a rope. She swallowed hard. Why would you do that? You have kids. You don't know anything about me. Henry hesitated, then exhaled slowly. 2 years ago, my wife died. Cancer. One day she was reading bedtime stories, and shortly after, she was gone. I was left with 5 6-year-olds who watched their mother fade away. Every nanny quits. They're grieving, hurting, and I don't know how to help them. Elizabeth blinked slowly. Suddenly she understood. Her voice was quiet. So you're not just helping me, you're hoping maybe I can help you. I'm selfish, he admitted. But the offer is real. Stay for one night or longer if you want. You can leave tomorrow if you'd like. No expectations. It wasn't charity. It was an exchange of broken pieces. I've never taken care of children, she whispered. Have you been around chaos? Henry asked. Despite everything, a faint smile tugged at her lips. Yes, then you're qualified. Henry's house was a lived-in disaster. Toys scattered the yard, chalk drawings covered the driveway. A tricycle lay tipped over on the grass. Inside, dishes piled high, backpacks thrown everywhere, laundry baskets overflowing. But there were children's drawings taped to walls, smiling photos, birthday cards, the kind of joy that survives heartbreak. Not neglect, just survival. He took her upstairs. The guest room was small but warm, clean sheets, a dresser, a window. This is amazing, she whispered. Oh, get some rest, Henry said softly. 5 8-year-olds wake up at 6 a.m. sharp. They don't believe in weekends. When the door closed, Elizabeth finally let her tears fall. Quiet, shaking sobs that belonged to years of fear and loneliness. For the first time in 12 years, she had spent an evening with a man who didn't hurt her, who didn't belittle her, who didn't make her feel small. For the first time since she was 19, she could breathe. She woke to chaos. 5 children yelling, rushing, stomping, laughing, arguing. She scrambled out of bed, heart pounding, instinctively bracing for a man's angry footsteps, for accusations, for pain. But then she remembered. She was safe. Wilson. The kitchen looked like a battlefield. Burnt toast smoking, cereal on the floor, Henry trying to referee an argument about a blue bowl while burning scrambled eggs. Dayton had it yesterday. Oh no, Caleb had it. Liam spilled milk in it. Mia pulled my hair. Ella started it. You helped him, Henry said later on the porch, voice thick. He helped me too. He looked at her with a softness she didn't expect. 9 weeks passed. Maya stayed distant, all anger and grief wrapped in armor, until one Henry looked up and saw her, relief flooding his features. Good morning, welcome to breakfast. 5 children froze, staring at her. Aidan, the tallest, narrowed his eyes. Who are you? This is Elizabeth, Henry explained. Is she staying with us for a while? Like the other nannies, Maya challenged sharply, because they all left. Not a nanny, Elizabeth replied softly. I just needed a place to stay. Your dad helped me. Why? Caleb demanded. Henry shot him a warning look. Kids, it's okay, Elizabeth said, meeting Caleb's eyes. Because I had nowhere else to go. And your dad, he's a good person. Ella tilted her head. Are you sad? The question caught Elizabeth off guard. Yes, she said honestly. I am, but I'm trying not to be. Our mom died, Liam said bluntly. That made us sad too. Elizabeth's heart cracked open. I'm so sorry, that must be really hard. You're not her, Maya snapped suddenly, fierce and protective. I know, Elizabeth replied gently, and I'm not trying to be. Your mom was special and no one can replace her. I'm just me. Something in Maya's eyes softened. Henry clapped his hands. Okay, go get ready for school. Bus leaves in 20 minutes. The children scattered like birds. Elizabeth picked up dishes. I'd like to help, if that's okay. Henry stared at her, tired and grateful. You already are. The first week was relentless. 5 grieving 8-year-olds, and Elizabeth, a woman too familiar with fear, understood their pain better than she expected. They tested her constantly. Aidan watched her like a hawk waiting for her to fail. Maya guarded her mom's memory like a dragon protecting treasure. Caleb stayed quiet but suspicious. Liam wanted to trust but followed the others' lead. Ella was soft, hopeful, terrified of being hurt again. Elizabeth didn't push. She didn't demand their affection. She cooked breakfast, packed lunches, learned preferences without asking. Aidan hated mayonnaise. Maya only ate strawberry jam. Caleb needed diagonal sandwich cuts. Liam liked extra juice. Ella wanted ranch with her carrots. She learned all of it by watching. Day by day, something shifted. It was Liam who cracked first. He came shyly with a drawing assignment. "I can't remember exactly what my mom looked like," he whispered. Elizabeth's heart broke open. "A faces fade sometimes," she said gently, "but the way someone made you feel, that stays." They drew together while she folded laundry. And when Henry came home and saw the drawing, their mother reading to 5 tiny children, he had to step outside to cry. Rainy afternoon, she burst into tears over tangled hair, clutching a broken brush. "My mom used to do it," Maya sobbed, "and I can't make it look right." "Can I try?" Elizabeth asked. "You'll make it worse." "Maybe," Elizabeth said softly, "but it's already pretty tangled." Maya hiccuped a small laugh. Elizabeth brushed her hair patiently, carefully, singing a lullaby her mother used to sing. Maya slowly relaxed. When the curls finally fell soft and neat, Maya stared into the mirror in awe. "It looks like when Mom did it. Your mom had good taste," Elizabeth whispered. Then Maya hugged her, fiercely, desperately. When Henry found them an hour later, they sat quietly together, 2 girls bound by grief. In the living room that night, Henry whispered, "She hasn't let anyone touch her hair since Julia died." "She was protecting the memory," Elizabeth said. "I understand." Henry looked at her, a soft question in his eyes. "You never talk about your past." Elizabeth touched her wrist. "The bruises mostly faded, but the memories still raw. My father married me off at 19, she began quietly. "For 12 years, Eric made sure I believed I deserved everything he did to me." Henry froze. "I finally got pregnant," she whispered. "And the night I told him, he beat me so badly I lost the baby." Henry inhaled sharply, pain flashing across his face. "That was the moment I realized I wouldn't survive him," Elizabeth said. "Dr. Lawson helped me escape. She made it look like I died. I ran Bosonet," her voice cracked. "Then someone stole everything I had left, and that's when you found me." Henry reached for her hand, gently giving her every chance to pull away. She didn't. "You're not alone anymore," he said softly, "and not if you don't want to be." A warmth bloomed in her chest. Hope this time steadier. 2 months turned into 4, then 6. Elizabeth found a job at Oakwood Books. Helen Brooks hired her instantly, seeing through her pain with a knowing smile. "You're running," Helen had said, "and that's okay. You're safe here." At home, the kids slowly healed. Elizabeth became Inessa, their own nickname. She planted a garden. She attended school nights and made grilled cheese that didn't burn. Their lives wove together quietly, beautifully. Unspoken feelings grew between her and Henry. A glance too long, a smile too warm. A brush of hands that sent electricity through them both. Late night tea, talking softly in the dim light after the kids slept. They didn't name it, not yet. But it was there, in every moment. The months kept rolling forward, and what began as an act of kindness slowly transformed into a life. Elizabeth had stopped counting the days since she'd arrived because this house, this loud, chaotic, messy home, had become the first place in years that felt like safety. The children recognized her footsteps, her voice, her laughter. She knew the pitch of their cries, the shape of their fears, the way their grief rose and fell like tides. She learned the rhythm of this house as if she had been part of it all along. The first year passed, and the second began without any dramatic announcement. It simply unfolded, with school lunches packed, gardens watered, homework done at the kitchen table, and evenings filled with soft conversations over tea after the children were asleep. Elizabeth's nightmares grew less frequent. Her hands no longer shook when someone reached toward her. She stood straighter, breathed deeper, moved with confidence she didn't know she could reclaim. The children were thriving too. Aiden stopped challenging her at every turn. Caleb began sharing his schoolwork without being asked. Liam no longer hesitated before hugging her at night. Maya sang openly while Elizabeth brushed her curls each morning, and Ella, soft-spoken and gentle, would slip her tiny hand into Elizabeth's without a word, trusting her completely. They never called her a mom, and she never tried to replace the woman they'd lost, but they called her Vanessa with a tenderness that filled her chest with warmth every time. It was Ella who said it first. They were setting the table for dinner one simple Tuesday evening. Nothing special about the day, when Ella paused, holding a spoon in her hand. "Vanessa," she said, "you're like our family now, right?" Elizabeth froze. Her hands trembled. "I like to think so," she whispered. "Do you want me to be?" All 5 children looked at one another, an exchange made of shared memories and silent understanding. Then, without hesitation, they nodded. Vanessa, Maya said firmly, that makes you family. Elizabeth excused herself to the bathroom so they wouldn't see her cry. But her quiet sobs carried anyway, and Logan found her there a minute later, leaning against the sink, hands pressed over her mouth. They mean it, he said, his voice thick. You're not a nanny. You're not a guest. You're part of us now. I know, she whispered, wiping tears. That's what scares me. What if I mess this up? What if I'm not enough? Logan gently tucked a stray piece of hair behind her ear. His fingers lingered for a moment, warmth brushing her skin. We're all figuring it out together, he murmured. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to stay. That's enough. Their eyes held longer than friends looked at each other. A few inches, a breath, a heartbeat between them. And then he pulled back abruptly, clearing his throat. I should check on Elizabeth only nodded, feeling something flutter painfully in her chest. Something she had tried for months to ignore. The shift came on a day that should have been ordinary. Nearly 2 years had passed since the night Henry found her on that bench. Elizabeth had taken a half-day from Oakwood Books and on impulse decided to bring Henry the lunch he'd forgotten. She walked into his office quietly, the container in her hands. Henry was on the phone, but when he turned and saw her, something in his face changed, lit up, softened in a way that made her heart feel weightless. He ended the call quickly. You didn't have to do this, he said, standing from his desk. Free. I know, she replied, placing the lunch on his table. But you've been working late. I figured you could use it. They were close now. Too close, and the air felt heavy with something they had danced around for months. Elizabeth saw the battle in Henry's eyes, the one she fought in herself every night, the fear of naming the truth. Elizabeth, he said softly, and her breath hitched. Something in the way he said her name made the world slow. I can't keep pretending. Her heart slammed against her ribs. Pretending what? That when you walk into a room, everything in me doesn't shift, he said, voice trembling slightly. Pretending I don't wait for your voice every morning. Pretending that watching you with the kids doesn't make me fall a little harder every day. Elizabeth stared at him, unable to breathe. You love me? Her voice was barely a whisper. How could I not? He stepped closer, but slowly, carefully. You are the strongest person I have ever known. You walked into our world with nothing, and you rebuilt yourself piece by piece. You love my children like they're yours. You healed them. You healed me. Elizabeth's tears fell before she could stop them. Henry, I love you too. I've been so afraid to even think it. Afraid wanting something good meant it would get taken away. Afraid you couldn't possibly want someone like me. Someone broken. Henry cupped her face gently, thumbs brushing her cheeks. Don't ever say that. You're not broken. You survived. You're whole. And you don't have to be afraid anymore. She leaned into him, hands gripping his shirt, grounding herself onto. I can't promise I won't have bad days, as she whispered. I can't promise I won't be scared sometimes. I don't need perfect, he said. I just need you, exactly as you are. Elizabeth kissed him, soft at first, full of caution, then deeper, filled with 2 years of unspoken longing. When they pulled apart, both were crying and smiling. What do we tell the kids? She asked, breathless. The truth, Henry said, that we love each other, that we're still a family, just finally brave enough to say it. That evening, Henry gathered the quintuplets in the living room. Elizabeth sat beside him, hands twisted nervously in her lap. We want to talk to you about something, Henry began, but Maya rolled her eyes dramatically. Finally, she said. Henry blinked. What? What? You two have been making googly eyes for like forever, Maya said. We thought you'd never figure it out. Elizabeth choked. You knew. All of us knew, Caleb said calmly. Even Mrs. Green knew. She said you were smitten 6 months ago. Ella nodded. We had a bet. Henry looked horrified. Elizabeth wanted to disappear. So, you're okay with this? Henry asked cautiously. With me and Nessa being together? Ella walked over, took Elizabeth's hand and squeezed it. Vanessa, you've been ours for 2 years. Dad being happy with you just makes it real. Maya stepped forward, her voice softer than usual. You're not our mom, and you're not trying to replace her. You're our Nessa. And that's good. Aidan added simply, you belong with us. Elizabeth cried again. Henry cried too. Their small family was no longer temporary. It had roots now. But healing was never a straight path. 6 months later, Elizabeth saw it, a news article on her phone. Eric Dalton smiling, shaking hands at a charity gala, speaking about helping grieving spouses, her abuser, her husband, the man the world still believed she had died escaping. Her hands shook until she dropped the phone. Henry rushed to the bathroom when he heard her panic breathing. "He's living a perfect life," she sobbed, pretending he's some hero, "and I'm supposed to stay hidden forever." Henry knelt in front of her, voice soft but firm. "Breathe with me. You're safe. We killed our baby," she wept. "He hurt me for 12 years, and he gets to walk free. What do you want to do?" Henry asked carefully. "Anything you choose, I will stand with you." "I can't come forward," she cried. "Everyone thinks I'm dead. I faked my death." "I could go to jail." Dr. Lawson," Henry said suddenly. "She still has your records, right? Photos, injuries, everything." Elizabeth swallowed, hope flickering painfully. She said she kept them all. "Oh, then you have evidence," Henry whispered. "You don't have to let him win. I'm scared, I know, but you're not alone this time." Dr. Lawson still had everything. Files, photos, medical reports of bruises, broken ribs, miscarriages, years of documented violence, photographs from the night Elizabeth lost her baby, detailed notes of every injury. "I kept them because I knew one day you might need them," Dr. Lawson said softly. With Henry beside her, and a lawyer recommended by Dr. Lawson, Elizabeth came forward publicly. The media storm was immediate, brutal. Elizabeth Bennet, presumed dead, resurfaces with evidence of 12 years of abuse against wealthy businessman Eric Dalton. Eric responded with denial, press conferences, accusations that she was unstable, but he couldn't erase the evidence. Helen Brooks testified about Elizabeth's condition when she'd first been hired. Mrs. Green described the terrified woman who'd arrived at Henry's door. And Dr. Lawson's testimony was devastating, cold, factual, undeniable. At home, the children overheard whispers at school. One evening, Aidan approached her with jaw clenched. "They said you were hurt by a bad man," he said. Really hurt." Elizabeth knelt. "Yes, that's true." Aidan's eyes burned fiercely. "If he ever comes here, I'll protect you. I'm strong now." Elizabeth hugged him tightly. "You already protect me. All of you do." Maya stepped in, voice trembling. "You're the bravest person I know, Nisa. Oh, we love you," Ella whispered. In their small arms, Elizabeth found strength she never thought she could have. The trial was exhausting. Eric's lawyers attacked her character, her sanity, her motives, but the evidence was a mountain he couldn't climb. The jury saw the photos, heard the medical testimony, listened to the years of documented injuries. They believed her. Eric Dalton was found guilty on multiple charges: domestic violence, coercion, assault. When the verdict was read, Elizabeth didn't feel victory, just relief. The nightmare was finally over. Henry waited outside the courthouse with the quintuplets. They rushed to the moment she stepped out, 5 little bodies wrapping around her, grounding her. "He can't hurt you anymore," Caleb said. Let's go home." "Let's go home," Ella whispered. "Home, yes." She finally had. 6 months later, on a warm autumn afternoon, Elizabeth stood in the garden she had planted with her 5 small helpers. She wore a simple white dress, her mother's locket resting against her collarbone. Flowers from the backyard adorned her hair. The quintuplets stood proudly around her, Aidan and Caleb in small suits, Liam holding a ring-bearer pillow, Maya and Ella in lavender dresses with curls bouncing. Henry stood beneath an arch they had all built together, looking at her like she was the only thing in the world. "Are you sure about this?" Henry had asked the night before. "Our instant family of 7 is a lot." Elizabeth had laughed softly. "I've been sure since the moment 5 children decided I belonged to them." The ceremony was small. Mrs. Green, Dr. Lawson, Helen Brooks, a few co-workers. When Liam brought the rings, he paused and looked at her seriously. "Our mom would have liked you," he said. "She would have wanted Dad to be happy." Elizabeth knelt, tears slipping down her cheeks. "I'll never try to replace her," she whispered. "I promise." "Oh, we know," Maya said. "You're Anissa." "That's different. And it's good." When Henry kissed his bride, 5 children cheered loud enough for the neighbors to hear. That night, under the stars, surrounded by the garden she'd grown with her new family, Elizabeth leaned into Henry's arms. "Thank you," she whispered. "For what?" he asked softly. "For seeing me that night. For stopping. For offering me not just shelter, but a life, a family, a chance to heal." Henry held her close. "You saved us too. He murmured, "You taught our kids how to love again. You taught me that broken doesn't mean finished. And you taught us all that family is about choosing each other every single day." Her past was over. Her life had begun. And her family, this perfectly imperfect family of 7, was her future.